Because we are the loneliest generation, the ability for us to form parasocial relationships is huge. My fear is that very vulnerable people will be taken advantage of. They will be exploited. They will be manipulated by... Hello everybody, welcome back to my humble abode. My name is Taddy. Let me back up. Let me back up a little bit. I feel like I'm all up in y'all's faces. Okay, and yes, this is a book. I have a book in front of me. I have notes in front of me because this is a very serious situation. Okay, hello everybody, welcome back to my humble abode. My name is Teddy, and in today's episode, well, today's video is a little different. It's a little different from what I normally make. Today's episode is something of a podcast. It's not going to be very visually stimulating, so this is your sign to get up and clean your dirty, nasty room while listening to me in the background, of course. Or if your room is clean, then treat this like a FaceTime call. This is FaceTime with me and you. Okay, the two of us just sitting and talking about stuff that I find interesting. Okay, so today's topic of discussion is parasocial relationships. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of parasocial relationships, but these are one-sided relationships that we form with online personalities or celebrities, fictional characters, and it's basically based around the media that we consume, right? It's like your relationship with your favorite content creator, or your relationship with your favorite artist, or your favorite movie star. You obviously love this person or feel some level of affinity towards this person, but this person has no idea who you are, and they will probably never ever have any idea who you are. That is a parasocial relationship. And the term parasocial relationship or parasocial interaction was first coined by Richard R. Wall, who was a great sociologist, together with Donald Horton, who was an anthropologist, and they wrote a study in 1956 called Mass Communication and Parasocial Interaction, Observations on Intimacy at a Distance. That is a very long name. They could have just called it parasocial relationships, to be honest. That was an amazing study that they did. At this point in time, in about 1956, television was still very new, TVs were very new, and scientists were sort of interested in how, the newscasters or the talk show hosts were speaking directly to a screen. They were speaking directly to the camera. So scientists were interested in what that does to the human brain, or how that affects our brain, how we sort of process that, right? And they actually found that our brains process the faces online, or the faces, the mediated faces, as if they were faces like in front of us, as if they were faces in real life, which makes sense, because historically, well, if we were to go back to ancient times, whenever you met a person and you saw their face, that was an opportunity for you to form some sort of a social relationship, right? And so now, many years later, when you can see faces without physically being next to the person, our brains haven't had the chance to evolve to the point where they realize, or where they're able to distinguish between a face that's online and a face that's in real life. So our brains are still as open and as receptive to these online faces as if they are faces in real life. Of course, since then, parasocial relationships and the topic around parasocial relationships has evolved. Since that first study I spoke about in 1956, there was kind of silence about the topic until 1985, when Ruben A., Perce E., and Powell R. did a study where they identified 4 variables that influence the development of parasocial relationships. These 4 variables included: 1, perceived reality of the figure; 2, the affection you have for the figure; 3, your frequency of viewing the figure; and 4, your duration of exposure to the figure. And those 4 things were what they considered as significant predictors of parasocial interaction, which it makes a lot of sense, and I will link the study in the comment section down below if I'm able to get my hands on it. And since then, in 1985, there have been a whole bunch of other studies, because I mean, if you think about it, at the time TV was like, there were a lot more people watching TV. It was a lot more accessible. There were a lot of talk shows. There were a lot of movie stars that were starting to like, and yeah, over time it became a pretty big topic, but it was mostly big around the world of psychology and sociology. It wasn't necessarily a big topic amongst the general public, right? So since then, there has been some sort of evolving to the topic, because of course social media has become a thing. So it was a thing of like, there was this one video I watched that used the example of Will Smith. So before, if you wanted, like many years ago, if you wanted to see Will Smith, you would have to make sure to be available when the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air plays, and then you would get to watch him. And then once that's done, you kind of step away from that and carry on with your life, right? But now Will Smith is everywhere. That man is always in selfie mode. And of course, this shift was brought by influencers. Like influencers are kind of in this weird space where they're not exactly celebrities. They're kind of like the cool kids of social media. They're kind of like the cool kids of social media. They are popular. We all know them. We consume their content. We probably love them. But at the same time, there's kind of a distinction between us and them. Like, they are of a different caliber than we are, but they're not celebrities. So they are a little bit more relatable to us than celebrities. So with these social media influencers, then came this new type of media or content that was a lot more relatable, that was a lot more vulnerable, that was a lot more authentic, and people really connected with that, and people really loved it, which again speaks on that change that I spoke about with Will Smith, where he is very much an A-list celebrity and we all know it, but he does like sort of make content and try to connect with people on a deeper level that is sort of authentic and relatable, of which it's not. Like, we're never going to relate to Will Smith, sorry to break it to you, but it's just the fact of the matter. But yeah, it's a weird time that we're in. But anyway, this whole shift in going from being able to see these media figures whenever like their show pops up, to literally being able to just type Will Smith on your phone right now and be able to almost connect with him immediately. Because now there has been obviously a change with the frequency of the exposure to the individual. There is also now this level of authenticity or relatability that you would normally just find in real life relationships and friendships that you have with people that you actually know. So with that shift comes like this absolute growth in our capacity to form parasocial relationships, because there are a lot more people that we can form parasocial relationships with, and because of the relatability that we have with these individuals, our parasocial relationships are deeper now than they were back then. Do you understand? And that is and with that growth in parasocial relationships came the topic coming up again, because I said in 1980, because like I mentioned earlier, the topic was first brought up in 1956, then it kind of went silent until 1985, and then a few studies here and there were talking about it. It was kind of a thing in the world of sociology and psychology, and then the topic really kind of blew up in, I'd say, the late 2010s, when the general at the same time that influencers were growing, because now there is this new type of media. there is this new type of media that we can connect with on a deeper level that is making us form these relations. And we all know parasocial relationships get pretty crazy, like big Harry Potter fans who literally think that they can like transport their mind to Hogwarts, or like K-pop stans. I don't want to talk about that too much because they honestly scare me. We have, Beyonce's Beehive, we have Nicki Minaj's Barbies, and everything in between. Even soccer fans, gents think that they don't form parasocial relationships, but what are you talking about? We beat Arsenal. We were you on that soccer pitch? Were you playing that soccer? No, you were not. So there's no we beat Arsenal. The team that you support, and actually, they feel such a strong affinity towards these football stars and stuff, and they don't even realize it. That too is a parasocial relationship, babes. The truth is, we all have some sort of we all form parasocial relationships. But going back to what I was saying, with the growth of influencers came the growth of parasocial relationships. And this is something that is very obviously true and very real in our generation as Gen Zs. It's not something that I think our parents can necessarily relate on as deeply as we can as Gen Z, because I don't think our parents are really watching influencers like that. I don't imagine my dad watching a day in the life vlog. That'd be weird. Enough with the history of parasocial relationships. Now you probably want to understand how they form or why we form these relationships. And I mean, okay, like I said earlier, our brains kind of haven't evolved to the point where they're able to distinguish between a face in real life and a face in media. That's one reason. But since then, there have been some studies that have been done. So for one, there is the parasocial attachment theory, which basically speaks on attachment styles. So there are 4 different attachment styles. I forgot what they are, but I'm sorry about that. I forgot what they are. I'm not even gonna lie. On one end of the spectrum is avoidant, and then on the other end of the spectrum is like, let me do a quick Google search for you guys, because that's bad for me to just say I don't know. On one end of the spectrum is very avoidant, and then on the other end of the spectrum is very secure. So the theory that they came up with is that people who are more on this end of the spectrum more likely to form parasocial relationships because they are less avoidant, right? Because they need that they are more likely to become very deeply attached. So because of that, they are more likely to form parasocial relationships, which I don't think it's true. And I don't think it has been taken as a fact, simply because right now, literally everyone, I would argue that literally everyone right now has formed some sort of a parasocial relationship. I mean, it's obviously a spectrum. Like, some people have very crazy deep parasocial relationships where they will think that they would be best friends with their favorite influencer or favorite movie star or whatever, and they would literally go to the point of like stalking these people. And then on the other side of the spectrum, there's like, you just love your favorite music artist or whatever, you know what I mean? So it is a spectrum, but I would argue that every single person that exists today in this day and age has some type of a parasocial relationship. So that kind of kills that theory. The second theory that there is the parasocial compensation hypothesis, which is the theory or hypothesis that people that are lonely are more likely to form parasocial relationships as a form of compensation for the lack of real life social relationships, which does make sense, because I think even though we are the loneliest generation, you can still have a social life and form parasocial relationships. So I think that also kind of kills that theory. It's not only lonely people that have parasocial relationships. I mean, of course, lonely people are more likely to form parasocial relationships, but it's not something that's like, innately a lonely people thing. You know what I mean? Okay, so while we're on this, I also want to talk about my personal relationship, my own personal parasocial relationship, that honestly, it's what made me most interested in the topic. it's honestly what made me most interested in the topic. And my parasocial relationship was with Emma Chamberlain. Now, if you don't know who Emma Chamberlain is, where have you been? Emma Chamberlain is one of the biggest vloggers today. Yes, she kind of walked so that the world of vlogging could run. Okay, no, I'm not gonna lie, that's a bit of an exaggeration. There were definitely a lot of vloggers before Emma, but Emma is like one of the biggest that have ever existed. And I think my parasocial relationship with Emma was a very interesting one. It made me understand the nuances of parasocial relationships in general in a very interesting way, because it wasn't linear, right? Okay, so Emma's content basically started. Hello everybody, I am currently editing this video, and in editing it I'm realizing that I spoke about Emma Chamberlain for a very long time. So if you're not interested in hearing me pretend that I was best friends with Emma Chamberlain, then click to the next timestamp. I think the next timestamp is going to be about Twitch streamers. You can just click over the Emma part because I'm going to be talking about Emma for a while. Okay, thank you. When she was just a young teenage girl in her bedroom in her parents' home, she was living a sort of modest lifestyle, one that I could connect with or relate to. Whereas other social media influencers were really big at the time. They had a lot of money. They were able to go on all these cool trips and do all this cool stuff, where I was just a child. I was just a teenager sitting in my parents' house, not really being able to do any of the crazy things that actual influencers can do. Emma was just like me, right? So it was very easy for me to relate to Emma. And I remember this one video she made where she basically she took a white t-shirt. There was this I think it was about 2017, 2018, no, 2016, 2017, something like that. I can't remember, but it was a really long time ago. There was this white Gucci t-shirt that was like a lot of people wanted it, a lot of people liked it, and obviously it's Gucci. Like, who can afford Gucci, right? Not a lot of people. So Emma decided to take a white t-shirt and then paint Gucci on it, and it was a really funny video at the time. Emma Chamberlain has a very like bubbly personality. You can literally talk to that girl, watch that girl talk about peanut butter for 12 minutes straight and you would be thoroughly entertained. Like, she's just an entertaining individual. So like I said, back in the day, she used to make this content that was almost parodying real life influencers, which was not only entertaining to watch, it was also very, very relatable, because she's like, you know what, I can't afford this Gucci t-shirt, and I feel like, good girl, same, like I can't afford the Gucci t-shirt too, so let's laugh about you painting Gucci onto a random $1 white t-shirt. You know what I mean? It was very funny at the time and very relatable. And then time, of course, went on, and Emma started to grow in following, and she moved to LA. And moving to LA, she started to get a lot more opportunities, of course, and she started to grow in her career, which at this point I think was still very, very, that I think at this point my affinity for Emma definitely grew more, because not only was she like my age and relatable, she was relatable and inspiring, because now I was like, it was like being inspired by a friend. You know, when you have a friend that's doing great things and it's inspirational, it was like that. I was very inspired by Emma. And then over the years, she kind of grew almost exponentially at that point, where Emma Chamberlain is something like an A-list celebrity. Like, I don't know, maybe B-list, maybe B-list celebrity. She is literally the only like influencer that is still invited to the Met Gala to this day. She is rubbing shoulder with the Kim Kardashians, Kendall Jenners. She's sharing I love yous with Jack Harlow. Like, she's that girl, okay? She's grown far beyond a point where I could ever understand. I mean, like I said, when she started, I was watching her in her parents' house, in her little bedroom, and now she literally has this $1 million house that was shown on Architectural Digest. What? And I went from watching her, you know, making fun of the clothes on runways for New York Fashion Week, to literally being invited by Louis Vuitton and invited and sponsored by Louis Vuitton every single year for the past few years. Like, that is insane. And now she's like on magazine covers and doing all these amazing things. So over time, I stopped relating to Emma, and I felt less inclined to watch her content or listen to her podcast, which was quite bizarre to me. Like, when I was sitting down and thinking about it, I was like, if I was watching a movie, right? And in this movie, there's this young girl, she's in her parents' home, and eventually this young girl becomes successful and she moves to LA. And in LA, she finds a lot of opportunities and she starts to do good for herself. And then from there, she becomes an A-list celebrity. I won't feel any less fond of this girl. I will still be able to connect with this girl. But why is it that with Emma, I feel so strongly as if I was actually her friend? Not that I am against Emma's success. Of course, Emma's success is something beautiful and it's truly something inspiring, but I don't feel like I relate to her anymore. And because I don't relate to her anymore, I am less likely to tune into her content. I am less likely to look into things that surround her, you know what I mean? Which Emma's career is something really interesting. It is worth a podcast episode of its own, really. But yeah, so that the whole thing of watching Emma going from, watching myself go from relating to Emma and really loving Emma to relating to Emma and being inspired by Emma and absolutely loving her, to going to a point of literally like knowing that I love Emma but not being able to relate with her anymore, feeling like there's a wall between us now. That showed me that I didn't just see Emma as entertainment. I had some level of a parasocial relationship with Emma Chamberlain. So yeah, I don't know why I'm telling you guys about Emma. I just thought it was a really interesting take on parasocial relationships. But yes, so parasocial relationships, back to how they grew. So parasocial relationships have of course grown tremendously since, have since grown tremendously in the past few years. Because now it's not, because of course we had influencers kind of come up, and then the influencers came with this sort of authenticity and vulnerability and relatability, and that kind of had some celebrities shaking. And now some celebrities like Will Smith have kind of dialed down their celebrity, and they kind of trying to, and Kylie Jenner even, are trying to seem more relatable to us, where they kind of put on this fake relatability. But even as they do that, there is a whole new side of the internet that formed with Twitch, where people are literally just sitting in their bedrooms and talking to the camera, and we watch this, we eat this. Oh my days, our generation, bruh, we eat this content up. Okay, if you're wondering, I don't know, actually, while I'm on that, do you guys watch Twitch streamers, or am I just weird? Like, am I the problem? Okay, because I don't have a Twitch account or anything. I don't even know how Twitch works. Like, I don't watch anything on Twitch, but I do watch some streamers. Like, some streamers, sometimes they will like record their stream and then put it up on YouTube, and that's where I normally watch this content. Like, I normally watch Duke Dennis and I watch Kai Cenat, which honestly is kind of random. But then in my defense, I have a 17-year-old brother, and he put me on. Okay, I'm eating it up. I'm eating up every single video that Duke Dennis comes out with. I think he's really entertaining and he's fun. But yes. But yes. So now I think I would say that the capacity or the ability to form a parasocial relationship with streamers is far worse. It is far worse than your capacity to form relationships with YouTubers, because streamers are talking to you in real time. Not talking to you, talking to their screen in real time, okay? And every now and then they might respond to your comment. And they are in their homes or in their bedrooms. They will sometimes vent and tell you about their day. It is unedited, uncut, unfiltered, unlike YouTube videos. It is crazy how invasive it is, but you can't really call it invasive because I mean the Twitch streamers make the decision to bring us into their lives, where they're going to talk to us, sometimes vent to us, talk directly to us, entertain us, sometimes vent to us, sometimes game with us. It's crazy, okay? It's crazy how far parasocial relationships are about to go with the way that the world is going. Now, here's where it gets a little crazy, okay? Here's where it gets a little crazy. But before I get into that, before I really tell you why I think it's actually gonna get insane, I just want to tell you about some research that I found out. There is an immense amount of research and studies that have been done showing that Gen Z is the loneliest generation yet, which again is so weird to think, which is so ironic if you think about the fact that we are in the age of social media. We are able to reach more people, far more people than we're able to reach before, yet we are the ones that feel less connected to people. What? Yes, because we are the loneliest generation, the ability for us to form parasocial relationships is huge. It is insurmountable. It's crazy. You know what I mean? And so I would like to propose, with AI growing exponentially, with chatbots sounding more and more human every single day, what does that mean for our lonely generation and the lonelier generations to come? Like, it's a little crazy. It's a little crazy because when I think about chatbots, to be specific, like ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT, when it first came out, or when I first interacted with it, sounded like I was talking to a chatbot. The responses, they were obviously more natural than like a chatbot you would find on a website that's very automated, very robotic sounding. It sounded a lot more friendly. But now, like a few days ago when I was doing research on this topic, I actually asked ChatGPT, like basically its opinion on the idea of human beings forming parasocial relationships with AI. And it was like I was talking to a person. It was like I was talking to a fully sentient being, to a fully conscious human being. Like, these things sound, AI sounds crazy. Okay, it just, for lack of better words, it actually sounds so crazy. I have this feeling that we are going to grow so lonely that we get to a point where we form parasocial relationship with these natural language processing tools like ChatGPT. And the thing is, these things are invading our space, bro. I don't know if invading our space is the correct way of putting it, but like, we just had ChatGPT, okay? ChatGPT is like, it's over there. It's all the way over there. You're not really going to interact with it unless you go looking for ChatGPT. But now we have Bing with for Microsoft and Androids. We have Bard for Google, of which again you're going to have to look for that one. But like, it's coming into our space because now Snapchat has my AI. I don't know if you guys know this. But Snapchat has my AI, which is literally listed, like where your friends are listed on Snapchat. You have my AI just like chilling there. I need water. Bruh, I've been talking a lot, yes. I've been talking a lot. If this is like our little conversation over FaceTime, it's your turn to talk. Tell me, what are you, how are you doing? Okay, tell me about your day or something. I don't know. Oh wow, that is that is interesting that your day went that way. Back to what I was saying. Snapchat now has my AI. As artificial intelligence grows, we are going to find more sort of chatbots and stuff like that on all our other social media platforms, and our ability to interact with them is going to grow exponentially. So, the frequency at which we interact with AI is about to grow so immensely. It's about to grow at such an incredible rate. That is a huge chance. That is a huge chance for human beings to form parasocial relationships with AI. And do I think that is a good thing, or do I think that is a bad thing? Honestly, I don't know. Because, I mean, it's a lot. Like, I don't know. It just makes me feel weird thinking that people are able to form parasocial relationships with AI. And if you think what I'm saying is a little bit crazy, it sounds like a little woohoo. Like, okay, Teddy, little miss conspiracy theory girl. If you think I sound crazy right now, let me tell you, like I said before, I did mention before that loneliness is a market, right? Loneliness is a market, first of all. Second of all, people have already noticed this market and have already started. People have already noticed this market and have already tapped into the market. You know why I say so? Because tell me why there is girlfriend AI. Tell me why there is romantic AI. There's literally there's literally AI that's been made to simulate a relationship already. I'm telling you that, guys, when I say loneliness is a market and Gen Z is the loneliest generation yet, listen to what I'm saying, okay? That is crazy. We're going to be forming parasocial relationships with AI. I mean, ChatGPT and them, they're becoming better at speaking and sounding more natural, but they are all over text, right? But there is new AI that is coming that will be multimodal. Okay, like Google is coming up with something called Gemini. You should do some research on it. I think it's really interesting, and honestly, I am quite excited about it. But it is kind of like, you know how ChatGPT is like is a natural language processing tool, and it sounds really real and really human over text, right? Well, guess what Gemini is going to be able to do? Gemini is going to be able to process text. It's going to be able to process video, like visuals, and it's going to be able to process audio. So it's only going to grow to become more and more human, because now if you're able to show this AI pictures and it can see what you're talking, and it can like process what you're talking about. If you're able to show this AI, to send this AI audio, and it's able to process what's going on in the audio, you can literally, they say with Gemini, you can literally send it a movie and it can tell you the theme, the general theme of the movie. So you know how you can go watch a movie and your friend goes and watches a movie and then you guys can meet up and discuss the movie? Well, guess what? You have AI for that now. It's scary. It's honestly scary. Like, I'm talking about it as if this is something that's so chill and stuff, but it's scary. We are going to lose our capacity to form real life relationships more and more. And honestly, like, do I have advice for you guys? No. Do I have advice? Do I have an alternative? Do I have some sort of a plan? I'm not even sure where I stand. Like, I'm not even sure if I think parasocial relationships are good or bad. I listed here the benefits of parasocial relationships. For one, inspiration. It can be very inspiring. Like I said, my relationship with Emma Chamberlain, where I was able to watch her grow, that was very inspiring for me. It still is. Number two, entertainment. Again, my relationship with Emma Chamberlain, where I can watch her content and I find it very entertaining and it's really nice to watch. Number three, a sense of belonging. Again, speaks to that relatability I spoke of. Gives me a good sense of belonging, the way I was able to relate with Emma Chamberlain. Number four, this example, I won't lie, this was given to me by ChatGPT, but it said emotional support, which speaks on the fact that, you know, you can sort of tell AI no, this wasn't said by ChatGPT. This was actually said by Google's Bart. It said emotional support, where you're able to tell the AI your emotions and what you're going through, and it can sort of give you advice on the situation and kind of tell you what to do, which is crazy, but it's true though, and it is a benefit. Like, it's a thing that's good for, you know, like people that aren't exactly able to open up to other people. If you can open up to AI and it won't judge you and it will give you advice, then hey, that's great. At least you have some sort of an outlet for your emotions. But the bad things about AI, one, it can become very, very addictive. Of course, can come to a point where you experience dissatisfaction with the real relationships, because I mean, AI is not a person. So AI you have a lot of control. You have a lot of control over when you interact with the AI, how you interact with the AI, and with human beings, you don't have that sort of control. You just kind of take the relationship as it comes. It's a two-way thing. So if you have that amount of control with AI, it's going to become very, 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 very difficult for you to enjoy relationships with human beings where you don't have absolute control, which is, again, scary. Like, imagine a guy, right, goes and he dates AI, like some girlfriend AI situation. Like, how do you think he is going to be when he transitions from his relationship with AI to a relationship with a real human being? It's not going to work. It's just not going to be as satisfying because, with AI, he had a lot more control over how the relationship went and how it grew. Whereas with a real human being, you will not be able to do that. So whether overall, whether these, relationships are good or bad, I don't know. I'm gonna leave that one up to you guys to say. I honestly want to hear your guys' perspective. Do you guys think these relationships are good or bad? I don't know. But I think what is more important, or what we should rather be focusing on or thinking about, is whether or not it is ethical. I mean, in terms of not just parasocial relationships in general, because I think there's nothing unethical about them, but parasocial relationships with AI specifically, is it ethical? Because my fear is that very vulnerable people will be taken advantage of. They will be exploited. They will be manipulated by these relationships that they form with AI. So is it ethical? That's my question. I don't know. It's food for thought. And if you're watching this video to this point, you probably really enjoyed it. Of which, if you did, may you please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps me out a lot. If you are a subscriber, thank you so much for watching. If you are yet to be a subscriber, then you're not welcome to the family in advance. And also, if you stay to the end of the video because you want to understand what this content even is. Okay, so normally my content is like teaching style content. Wait, let me get closer. Okay, normally my content is like teaching style content, or very structured, and it has like a set formula. And sometimes there are topics that I want to speak about. Like right now, this topic that I want to speak about, I wanted to just talk about it naturally, and I didn't want it to be a thing of me teaching you guys about the topic. So I just wanted to speak about it naturally, and I realized that it's not going to go with my regular format. So this is going to be like, I don't know what I'm going to call it. I'm going to make a separate playlist on my channel. I think I'm going to call it